confuse people. I'm cross-eyed. I mean, that's the best way to do it. He doesn't,
Well, they just turn the camera on for that.
yeah, he likes it. Brings energy and
Very clear.
unmatched energy.
Please rise. Join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting of the Wahoo City Council, October 14th, 7 o'clock p.m. Open Meeting Act is posted on the wall. Call the meeting to order and roll call.
Stuart Creechy.
Here.
Shane Sweet.
Here.
Ryan Ideas.
Here.
Chris Rappel.
Here.
Patrick Nagel.
Here.
Carl Warford.
No proclamations. Anyone in the audience wants to speak to something that is not on our agenda?
Yes. Is that okay?
You are on our agenda.
I know, but I have a different thing I want to say. Can
Okay.
I do that? Okay. First of all, I wanted to apologize because at your last council meeting, I was on your agenda and I didn't show up. I had a family emergency which resulted in a family member being in the hospital. And I didn't even think that I could have called the library so you guys would have known. So for that, I apologize. The next thing is I was wondering, and I talked to a lot of people lately, have you guys ever considered having our meetings on Monday? The reason being is Tuesday's a sports day. And people said they'd come to the meeting, but there's either basketball, softball, volleyball, sports going on where family members, parents, grandparents like myself attend those functions, and then we're not able to come here because you're going to choose going to watch your kid versus coming here. So I was just wondering if you had the opportunity, or if it was ever brought up, that maybe it could be an item of discussion for later. That's all.
Whenever there's a new council, so whenever there's election, could be different people. That is on the agenda for the meeting nights. It can be changed because 4 years ago, it was on Thursday night.
Okay.
And from the council wanted to change it to Tuesday night,
Okay.
so we did.
Okay.
So it can be on the agenda.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering, because like talking to people, you're Tuesdays, Thursdays, the only two nights that aren't sports nights really are Monday and Wednesdays. Wednesday's considered a church night, although when I was calling around to different churches, it seemed like there was more for kids on Wednesday nights than adults, but that doesn't matter, it's considered a church night. So I just thought I would throw that out there. That's all. Then you'll hear from me later.
Okay.
Okay? Okay.
Well, from a personal standpoint, and I won't be mayor after the next election, but on a Monday night, I have another board meeting that I have been elected to. So it would be a conflict for me, but at that point, I'd have to decide whether to be here or at the other meeting. But that can be worked out. So.
I didn't know you guys discussed it upon election, so I learned something. Okay.
Anybody else have something they want to discuss that's not on the agenda? Okay, we'll move forward. Department head reports, do you have anything?
I will have a written report at the next meeting. So.
Okay, that's fine. We'll go to the consent agenda.
Most of those claims pretty small, other than the debt reduction check that we approved. Motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Can you guys speak up? I can't hear what you're saying.
We'll try.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion and second to approve the the consent agenda. Roll call.
Preachy,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Raffle,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go to, public hearing. Number one, first public hearing regarding the application for a change in zoning for the address commonly known as 1477 County Road M from R3 high density residential to large lot residential, as submitted by Curtis and Sandra Hahn. So the, request, if you would come forward. I'll open the public hearing. We'll hear from you and the public, and then we will close the hearing, and then it'll be council discussion. If you would sign in, and your name and address, to make sure we have the information right. Thank you.
All right. Probably a little background here on why I requested this zoning change is because my parents, back in May of this year, sold their, or auctioned their farm off on top of the hill outside town. You know, most of you probably know where I live. And after that was purchased, there was a matter where the new buyers found out they couldn't have birds that lay eggs and a couple farm animals that due to the zoning, it was R3 for condos and apartments and whatnot. So after they sold that, I heard that, and I'm like, okay, what am I zoned at? I live below that, on the side of the hill, and I was the same way. And I bought that from a farmer back in 2004, built the house, and really never thought about zoning at all, and any issues with that. But somewhere along the line, I think it was changed to this R3 for future growth, and we weren't notified of it. And, you know, we just want to have, you know, the ability to have birds that lay eggs and a couple farm animals. But we can't the way it's zoned right now, because we're zoned for apartments and townhomes or whatever. So that kind of started it, and I put the application in to change that. And in the zoning committee, a couple months back, it was denied because they don't want to do spot zoning. And again, I just feel like we were never notified it was changed to R3 to begin with. I can't, Tracy Figler. She went back in, I think, 2005, it looked like it was rezoned to R3, but we were never notified. My dad certainly wouldn't have missed that. So we're trying to correct a wrong in our minds to change it to large lot residential, so that we can have animals on our property. Yeah, it was denied in the zoning change. You probably see that already. I was quite surprised. I had no idea what spot zoning really was going into that meeting, so I was a little unprepared for the pushback. But yeah, that's why we're here. Also, the people that purchased the house have also put in a zoning change from R3 to large lot residential. They didn't when I first put in my application 2 months ago, when they said during the meeting that would certainly help you, as it would no longer be considered spot zoning because there's 2 of us now. So that application was submitted last week. So that's coming. That may help in this final decision. I'm not sure if we can table this for city council tonight until that one catches up, because that one's going to go through zoning as well on November 5th. So, but that's kind of the background of the whole process in a nutshell, and we're just caught off guard when we learned about this zoning of our property. So that's really it. Any questions at all? Does that make sense? Or
I guess I just want to ask one thing. Can this go back to zoning now that we've had the people that live above us are wanting theirs rezoned. So would that be a possibility to have it go back to
I'm
that?
not sure I would,
How would that work?
I'm not sure the exact process here. We'll keep the public hearing open.
Yeah.
If the public wants to speak, then we'll close the hearing, and then we'll be able to answer the questions, and
Sure.
then the council can act on it.
Okay.
That way we'll have full disclosure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's the situation in a nutshell, and why we put in that zoning application, so. But yeah, we just feel like we were caught off guard with that whole thing. We didn't know about it until the parents sold their place. But now that we have learned how we're zoned, we're just trying to get it corrected, so to speak, so. But that's really it. No, there was conversation about, yeah, there it is, about a soft entry, like, in my mind, I don't know, coming down 77, if you want to see apartments and condos right away, but again, that's up to zoning and you guys, but, green space and, maybe farmland or acreages would look nicer. But right behind our property on there too, it's commercial up on the corner, but, that was brought up, and we did lose the vote. I think it was like 5-2 in the zoning meeting, but, I was kind of prepared for the pushback, to be honest, and I had no idea what spot zoning really was, but,
And to me, it sounds like they just, I don't know if it's just they don't want to do the paperwork to get it rezoned. I don't know what,
it seems to be a sore spot, so,
yeah, so
which we weren't.
not really sure as to why
Well, that's just,
that was a problem, but yeah.
Who didn't want to do the paperwork?
No, I'm like, I don't know. That's
Oh,
where
okay.
that's where I'm going. Why it's difficult to let it be a 5-acre lot, why you wouldn't zone it back to livestock and animals and, yeah.
and I did talk to Bill Reese, the county supervisor, and he agreed that, he didn't have any, he understood the spot zoning issue, and, he was for us getting that changed to large lot residential, but again, so we have this secondary one coming behind us, that owns the top, my parents' old place at the top of the hill. They're just putting their application, they put it in last week, so that one's coming up behind this, so that's where we're at, so.
Okay.
Procedurally, kind of question.
Yeah. We'll answer those questions. Okay.
Sounds good, thank you.
Is there anybody else from the public who wants to speak to this? If not, I'd have to take a motion to close the public hearing.
So,
I'll second that.
Questions, roll call.
Ideas?
yes.
Rappel?
Yes.
Sweet?
Yes.
Krejci?
Yes.
Nagel?
Yes.
Okay, now we'll open up, Travis, do you want anything, or do you want the council to speak first?
I guess they can just ask me any questions they might have. I'll go ahead.
Well, from my perspective, any zoning changes or anything like what you're talking about has to have a public hearing. And they would have been notified, posted signs and stuff, whenever there's a change. So, I'm not saying right or wrong from where your folks were and this and that, but at the time, it should have been posted and they should have been notified. I'm assuming that happened.
Yeah, to answer the procedural question, so you certainly can table it, right, and wait for the other application to come through and address the applications together. You can refer this back to the planning commission for further consideration by the planning commission if you think there's a reason for this to be reevaluated. Or my thought process would be that same discussion of do we want LLR inside the bypass, and that's gonna naturally be happening with this other application anyway. So I don't know that you gain anything by referring it back to the planning commission. I think the same conversation is gonna happen irrespective, right? And certainly the neighbors and the homes can go to that meeting and speak up in favor of that application if they want to with the planning commission, kind of talk through the issue. So to me, it would make more sense to table it if that's what you're inclined to do. I don't think you can approve it as is. I mean, spot zoning by definition, you're not allowed to rezone a single parcel for the benefit of that property, or the law prohibits it. So even if you wanted to, you can't approve this application as is. You have to wait for the second one to come in, because then at least there you have the adjacency of two parcels that together are roughly 10 acres. It's not black and white that that's enough to get out of spot zoning, but it's at least into the gray where I think you can consider it, right? Spot zoning by definition, when you get multiple parcels in it, becomes just a larger factual question for you of what you think is enough, right? If it's, as an example, if it were 2 quarter-acre lots sitting in the middle of town, that's probably not enough, right? The fact that there's 2 of them doesn't somehow get it out of the spot zoning area. Here, though, larger parcels, the connectivity of the 2, I think it's at least gray, right? It allows you to have that conversation at that point.
So with the Holmes application being denied by the planning commission, and the new owners putting in a new application, so are the Holmes application going to be considered also with the new application?
I would think
Because that would be the 2 parcels.
yes, I would think you take this one off the table when that comes to you after that second application comes together, and then you would consider them as a combination, right? Because the one thing I don't think, at least the minutes of the planning commission meeting really addresses that larger question of, well, if it's not spot zoning, what is the planning commission's opinion on LLR in that location? At least I didn't read the minutes to really say one way or the other. And that's the clarity you're gonna get back from the planning commission with the next application.
So then,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
no, so planning commission could still give an updated opinion on this one as a
Yeah.
part of that other approval?
Yeah.
Or, decision, I should say.
The one thing I think the planning commission has to consider, and this is more for Travis than anything, is when you talk zoning change, you're not allowed to rezone something that's contrary to your comprehensive plan and your future land use map. Here, the future land use map is not LLR, so I think they would also have to amend the future land use map as a precondition to a rezone, right? Because the idea is, well, if the property is residentially zoned, but the future land use map says it can be, you want it to be commercial someday, somebody comes in with an application for a commercial rezone, we can say, yes, that's fine, because we always intended this eventually to be rezoned to commercial. But if that same person says, I want it zoned industrial, well, you have to reconsider your comprehensive plan and your future land use map before you can then approve a rezone, because the 2 are conflicting, right? And so I think planning commission will have to have 2 agenda items. 1, the comp plan and the future land use map, and 2, the rezone, since, again, right, historically, they didn't view this property as becoming LLR someday.
Yeah, that's the point that I was gonna make on the city's future land use map, which was adopted in 2004, January of 2004. It has, I don't know if you can see this brown piece, it has it listed as medium-high density residential, with commercial property being along Chestnut Street.
And that would have been a part of the comprehensive plan?
Yes.
That would have been updated?
Yeah.
And they can do it and you can do it, right? I'm not saying you're prohibited from changing that map, but that has to happen procedurally as well.
Is there speaking of the comprehensive plan, in that scenario, you're maybe adjusting a significant portion of land, in a certain quadrant. Would there ever be a scenario where the homeowners wouldn't have been notified in something like that if there was a broader change?
Yes, as part of a broader, not singular parcel change in zoning, we're not required to specifically notify individual property owners. So if we take large swaths of property, rezone them to something else, there isn't specific notices that are given. There's still the same public notices, right, that we have to give. There's typically posting and signing, things we do administratively as well, but not in terms of the individual mailer, right? And I can't speak to, and I would imagine the city with the record speaking to whether that mailer did or didn't happen back when this was happening, because perhaps it was part of a larger rezone.
So this swath was done to R3 in 04, 05.
That's my understanding of it. And I would assume that's kind of when we were doing the Chestnut project and then kind of redeciding what should be a long Chestnut, both directly adjacent to it and a little farther away. That's when that kind of reconsideration of zoning, I believe, happened. And that was 20 years ago, so I don't really remember, to be honest.
It probably doesn't make sense to have them both together, but I mean, for today, just for my curiosity, do the properties comply with R3 zoning today? Does that affect outbuildings? Because there's plenty of outbuildings.
Yeah, and certainly if there's outbuildings, if the structures or the use was non-compliant when the rezone happened, the properties are grandfathered in. So if a person, as an example, had outbuildings which were not allowed in R3 zoning, but that existed back when this change happened, or had chickens or goats or whatever on the property, the fact that we rezone them doesn't mean they have to stop or discontinue that or tear that structure down. Under our regulations, they have grandfathered structures, grandfathered non-conforming uses. They're allowed to continue that on. They just have to be aware that there's language in our code that says if they discontinue that use for more than 12 months, they lose that grandfathered status. So if I want goats and chickens, I've always had goats and chickens, I can't take a 13-month hiatus from doing it because I'm going to lose my grandfathering status, right?
Thank you for the clarifications. Travis, anything you want to add?
No, you summed it up.
Okay. So,
So if
Council,
there-
do you have any other questions of Jobin or the process? Which way to go?
If there's no benefit either, if there's no benefit to sending it back to planning and zoning, I would make a motion to table it, allowing the other one to catch up, so to speak.
Guess we talk about the same time. I mean, second?
Any other comments on the motion? Roll call.
Ideas?
Yes.
Creachy?
Yes.
Nagel?
Yes.
Crapple?
Yes.
Sweet?
Yes.
Okay, that is passed.
So just for your information, if the other application is being heard in November at the planning commission, the 5th, if they take action to recommend, I'm trying to think, it'll probably be on the 13th, is that, yeah? Right, Travis?
No, it'd be on the fourth Tuesday of that month
Okay.
with publication. So whatever your meeting date is, that
The
second.
Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so there'll be a public hearing there, a public hearing.
Right, on the other application, there'll be a public hearing at the planning commission, and then when that comes forward to the city council, we'll bring this from the table so that they're discussed at the same time. But that other application won't make it here until the second Tuesday, or the fourth Tuesday in November.
Okay.
And certainly I would attend the planning commission meeting and speak up that one as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to public hearing number 2 regarding the approval of the preliminary plat for Dry Run Commons subdivision as submitted by JEO. Open up the public hearing. He knows the procedure. Name, address, and salary.
Good evening, Kevin Anderson from JEO Consulting, JEO Investments. We are here to discuss a proposed preliminary plat for Dry Run Commons along Dry Run Drive. This is the property immediately south of Casey's on the highway in West 15th Street. As you'll notice here, this is indeed south of the Casey's and south of where Dry Run Drive currently terminates. The land directly to the east has already been platted. That was done administratively. And so what is in question here today is all south of the current termination of Dry Run Drive. I bring that up because as well as proceeding with a preliminary plat tonight, along with that, we are requesting a waiver to the city's cul-de-sac requirements, which currently maximizes at 500 feet. And I will get into that as it relates to how this project can be phased. But we are proceeding with this 32 acres, 9 lots that we anticipate commercial zoning throughout, along with associated outlots for stormwater requirements of these. We pursue preliminary plat even though our intent for the foreseeable future is to only pursue final plat for 3 lots, the northernmost lots, as well as 1 outlot designed to collect stormwater from those first 3 lots, phase 1, if you will. And that is the area shaded here, is what we will, in the future, be pursuing final plat and rezoning towards. We are preliminarily platting the remainder of the site, all 32 acres, for a number of reasons. First of which is to show you and the public what infrastructure through this site will look like. That helps in phasing this project out, as well as provide assurances that with a waiver to the cul-de-sac requirements, as this proceeds, the city will get that secondary ingress, egress at various points. We are showing 3 potential access points to this development. I'm here to say the likelihood of all 3 being pursued through final plat is small. We are showing access to the south of the property from Highway 77, as well as access east along where it will connect north of Hackberry Park. We are showing all, even though our likely intent is not to pursue all 3, so that as this development shapes into what it ultimately will be, and what the level of interest is in the market out there, essentially what types of users we're attracting to this site, we think is a case to determine where that access point should be. If we are looking at true vehicular access commercial sites rather than more of a neighborhood feel, access of the highway makes more sense, so that we are not directing traffic through a residential neighborhood and essentially Hackberry Park. If the end use, especially to the south of the property, does have more of a neighborhood feel and makes more sense to have that direct connection to the community, to the neighborhood, then that access off of, I think what would be 23rd, sorry, I should know that.
10th
I'm sorry,
Avenue.
in the wrong direction. 10th Avenue makes the most sense. But as we're laying out in this preliminary plat, we are planning for both access points to show you and the public ultimately where those could tie in and ultimately serve the site as well as the community. For the waiver of the current cul-de-sac requirements, the current termination from 15th to Dry Run Drive at that line right there, on the north part of our property there, is at 425 feet. Maximum cul-de-sac requirements are 500 feet. Our proposal to serve these 3 lots is to extend Dry Run Drive by an additional 380 feet, which will create 800 total feet of Dry Run Drive from 15th to where it will ultimately terminate. JEO will construct a temporary turnaround for emergency vehicles south of where we're showing this phasing line. So we'll build that to specification. I believe that's a 100-foot radius for appropriate turnaround for emergency vehicle to be able to serve this site. Like I said, JEO will do that on the southern portion of this property, not affecting these 3 lots or what we're proposing as Dry Run Drive. Now, ultimately, as we pursue final plat and rezone of these 3 properties, we are proposing a continuation of the existing C2 that covers Casey's and the 2 lots that are directly east of Casey's. So it'll be a continuation of that C2 zoning. And when we get to that point of final plat and rezone, we will also be requesting annexation as a portion of that. This all goes to a process by which can help phase in this development. Like I said, we're pursuing with 3 commercial lots now. As those fill in and we get interest in additional lots is when we will pursue a final plat working its way south for additional commercial lots of the 9 that are currently being requested for a preliminary plat. So the up-down request tonight is preliminary plat of the 32 acres and 9 commercial lots. Just keep in mind, because they're so closely associated and how we intend to phase this, that when we come in for final plat, it will just be for the northernmost 3 commercial lots and an outlot. That being said, I'll stick around for any questions.
Okay. I'll open it up to the public. Anybody in the public have a question?
I have a question. So none of this is residential, it's all commercial?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Rappel,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Diaz,
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Okay, council, any questions of the applicant or any questions to Jobin or planning and zoning administrator?
No, preliminary plat's been, just that, it's preliminary.
It's preliminary, so.
I'd make a motion to approve the preliminary plat.
I'll second.
Any questions, comments from the council? Roll call.
Oh, sorry, the one comment I want to make, just so that GAO is aware more than anything, I was trying to think through this is preliminary plat for the whole thing, but the final plat was just gonna be the right side. I think, look at section 3.0207 in the code. I think it says that the preliminary approval for the rest of those lots becomes void after 12 months. And so certainly it gives an indication that the council supported it, but I think technically you have to restart the preliminary plat if you wait more than 12 months on that other phase.
Instead of reminding.
Okay, do we need roll call?
Roll.
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Creachy,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Okay, action items not requiring a public hearing. Update on the Kennedy Campus South Hall project as requested by Mary Bailey. Mary, you're up,
you want me to sign in with my address?
please.
Okay, last time I was here was July 8th, and at that meeting, Jovan, you were going to speak with Mike, or I call it Mike Sullivan, about making the necessary changes with the wording on the contract. I have been up to the city hall 3 times, and no such changes have been made, but I understand you've met with him twice, to my knowledge. So what's with that?
Yeah, so we have had conversations, but the council made clear until he's completed phase 1 of the project, which is the property that's being renovated, they aren't gonna consider the second phase of it. So he still needs to finish that first phase before we really can get into the weeds on what that language might look like for presentation to the public and to the council. And that's kind of it's being done in order to make sure he gets done with that phase of the project.
So we don't know where we're at with the phase 2.
Well, the council certainly hasn't had any consideration of anything as it relates to phase 2.
Okay, well, I just I just want to stay updated because I've been, like I said, I'm to the city hall a lot, just checking up and seeing if anything's been done, what's been done, and what's written, because I don't know, but I don't want to be an uninformed person either.
Yeah, there's been no drafts of anything as it relates to an amended document of any kind. We've had some conversations about needing better clarity from him on exactly what the recreational or the park piece of that looks like, because there was a lot of questions obviously that came up with the public, and he's going to have to answer those when it does come back to the council for consideration, because obviously there's going to be a lot of criticism on that particular piece of it. So just making him aware that you better be prepared to beef that up and be able to answer some questions as to concerned citizens.
Okay, then the next issue, and I'm just looking out for my neighbors, is Steve brought up about the water issues with the runoff. And has that been fixed? You know, there's neighbors below me that had voiced concerns and wondering where that stood. Because when they went to look at it, there's cameras all over, and Mike came out and kind of chewed his butt for being on private property. And so we just need to know where he's at with the water so it preserves what's underneath, you know, behind him.
And I'm not aware of any conversations or anything to see, because basically my understanding is as part of phase one, there was a drainage study that was done as part of that. And so that mechanism was part of that. The question always is when you get close to final completion on a project and you're going to the city to give the occupancy permit, the city's going to have to make sure that the as-built match up with the drawings, right? So that what was in the plans initially is what was actually constructed, so that there's not, as an example, a blowout at the end of a retention pond and it's spilling water onto somebody else, right? But I don't think we've gotten to the final completion phase of it so that there isn't an occupancy permit inspection. So I'm assuming Travis hasn't been out there really to look at, to make sure everything is built the way it was supposed to be built based on the designs.
Yep, you haven't, or yes, you
I
have?
have not, no, there's
Okay.
no occupancy.
Okay, so when will we know something? I guess. I mean,
When he completes the project.
but is there, like, does he have a timeline? Like, last time I thought there was a timeline and then it got extended and then he got another timeline, but I think that's been gone through too. So where are we at with the timelines on this project so we know what's going on in our neighborhood?
If I'm being blunt, on phase one, there really won't be anything that you know. Because it's the same as if I build a house. If I build a house, other than my application and the occupancy permit, nothing else is public record, right? Nobody can come over and ask Travis or anybody else, how's it going, what are they doing, can I take a peek at the house, right? None of that's allowed, it's private to that person. The same is technically true here, where everything is done on phase one administratively. So if an occupancy permit is granted, that means the city's inspected it, it matches up with the plans, we're good to go. Now in phase two, that's entirely public, because before anything is done, an amendment to the original agreement has to come in front of the council, will be absolutely part of public consideration, public comment, and the council will basically review that anew, since he missed the original dates.
Okay, but can I ask a question, and it's just because I don't know the answer to it? Okay, so that property belonged to Wahoo that he's at. That property is taxpayer. He's getting a break on taxes initially to renovate and all do that. So it's not like you building a house or me building a house.
So
It's like, it's still,
Well, you can see the TIF agreement, certainly, that's a public record, right? So the fact that there's TIF on Sid Dillon's project or Omaha Steel's project or any of the TIF related projects, that's a public record. You absolutely can come in, review the terms of the TIF agreement, anything that is public record. Just like I can go in and ask for a copy of an occupancy permit, that's public record, right? It's a public document. What I can't do is I can't go beyond that and ask questions and get answers to it, because that is the private piece to it, because it's privately owned. That phase one is privately owned.
Yeah.
So it's specific to them, just like any other residential private property owner, commercial. And I can't ask about Wahoo State Bank's
Okay,
building or any of that, right? That's all private.
okay.
I just want to make a point, because I think there is a big misconception about TIF, tax increment financing. The property owner is still paying all of their property taxes. They still go to the courthouse, write the same check that everyone else writes for their same tax rate, all those things. The redevelopment agreement is the piece that allows the city to capture all of the taxes that are being paid on that piece of property and use them for the development, however, for public benefit. And in this instance, that whole public benefit and use of TIF is Mike's motivation to get this project done, because that was an existing building. There's not been a lot of public infrastructure installed with that project, so there is not much TIF revenue that's coming back to him for that piece of the project.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. But like I said, I didn't know, so that's why I
Yeah, sure,
had
absolutely.
had to ask the question.
Yeah.
And then I was wondering, one more thing. So, but, yeah, I'm just asking this, but I know it doesn't pertain right now. I'm just asking. So, since the park is zoned as a park, wouldn't you have to ask for rezoning if he goes through with phase two to rezone it for residential, since it's zoned as a park?
Its use isn't zoned, it's still, parks are allowed in a residentially zoned area. So the zoning doesn't change regardless if it's an apartment complex or a house or a condo or a park. All of those things are allowed in a residentially zoned area. And
Okay.
so your house is in the same zoned area as the park, is the same as the apartment complex that he's building. It's all allowed within that zoning jurisdiction.
Okay, I just didn't know if it would
Yeah,
have.
if that property, as an
That works.
example, if that parcel was zoned commercial, then absolutely, he'd have to go through a rezone to change it from commercial to residential, because you can't have a park in a commercially zoned area, right? But you can have a park and you can have houses in residentially zoned areas.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna ask one more question, because I think City Hall's getting tired of seeing me when Terry Berry says, "Here comes Mary Daly." So when, I guess maybe you guys don't know. When do we start? I guess I don't know.
But we could say to you, we know you're interested in this,
Okay,
and we meet on a regular basis, so you can check on the agenda every 2 weeks.
I do.
But we also know that we have your contact information, so we would reach out to you to let you know there is something on the agenda.
Okay,
For
well,
phase-
and
for phase
also,
two.
I'm going to
Phase two.
truly start coming to these meetings. My granddaughters are done with softball now, so I do want to see what's going on in Wahoo, because I need to know as a citizen, so.
And out of transparency, Mike, you want this to be addressed sooner rather than later. He's asking Melissa and I for us to address it sooner rather than later, because he'd rather have the commitment now than have to wait until phase one is done. We're telling him the same as we're telling you, no, it's gotta wait.
And that's good, I'm glad to hear that phase one totally has to be done before we can move on. So does that, phase two isn't part of Wahoo Super project?
No,
Okay,
two separate.
two separate projects.
Right.
Okay, that's it.
We appreciate your interest in the project and the Wahoo. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, we'll move to the next item. Number 2, approval of the alignment of frontages for.
Excuse me, can I discuss the Kennedy College thing?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I just had one question, hold on. I just want to know, as we're looking towards this phase two, are we doing anything to look at the infrastructure there? Because the nightmare that is the corner of 12th and Sycamore right now has me wondering, are we looking at the infrastructure that's in place to add a whole bunch more families to that area?
That would be a utility question.
Well, I guess I can address, the water main, it was a ruptured water main. That whole stretch was, a new stretch was put in there. So that infrastructure is in good shape now. An inspection was done of the sanitary sewer line. It is in good shape as well, but we are yet this fall doing a lining of the sanitary sewer in that area, because at the end of the day, we have a lot of concrete that has to be replaced in the street that's being improved. And so we want to make sure that everything underground will last another 50 to 75 years. And so that work is being done. And when we redo the paving, we're making sure that we are looking a little bit into the Sycamore Street intersection to make sure that the returns are being addressed and the ADA sidewalk compliant, all of those things. Because while we're doing it, we just as well make sure that it's to the necessary standards. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Okay.
because my concern is, talking to the people doing the work, if this hadn't happened, this wouldn't have been addressed. The fact that we're adding or looking at adding a lot more people to this area. So I'm just wondering if all the infrastructure is going to have to be addressed looking forward.
Anytime a new development or an improvement comes to us, like if someone comes and they want to build a new 50-lot subdivision, when we accept that application, we look at the infrastructure. We look at what that is going to generate in terms of demand on the existing systems, and are there any improvements that need to be made. So I know Mike has had conversations like on the electric, natural gas, and the sewer and water were looked at as well. So I think the people who are out in the field doing the repair are maybe speaking without full knowledge of the processes that have already been gone through. Does that make sense?
It does, and that answers another question, because the people doing the repair I don't know who's doing it, but doesn't seem to have a really good grasp of how the whole thing works, because we keep losing water and they keep saying, whoops, we didn't know you were tied into that, whoops, we didn't know you were part of that system, even though we're like
Right there.
Right on the corner.
we're in the middle of it. 3 times we've been without water, and 3 times they've said, whoops, one time they went home that night, and we had to call and say, hey, everybody went home and we don't have water, and they came back and said, whoops, we didn't know you were on that line.
So for the council's knowledge, the Board of Public Works authorized a change order for K2 to do the work. They're the same crews that did the work in the downtown area, so, I understand your frustration.
I'm even more nervous, because I'm thinking, I don't think we have a really good handle on how this infrastructure is set up, because nobody seems to know where our.
Well, what I would say is, out in the field, with the exposed and with the information that we've learned, all of that is being documented in our GIS system. And that is a technology that it's taken us a little bit to get up to full speed, but we're out there GPSing valves and connections and all of the things, and that's being recorded. So the next time someone goes out to locate where your main is, or where your service line is, they should be able to hit it very accurately. So, yeah.
Okay,
Hopefully we never have to do that.
The employees out there are working on that project. We're not trying to keep them in the dark, but if they answer somebody's question and then something else comes back, then you're frustrated because something else that has to take immediate attention has to be handled.
Well,
So it can change the.
Well, to me, immediate attention is I don't have water tonight.
Yeah.
I know
That's immediate.
Yeah.
But that's why they're not.
But it wasn't our employees, it was K2.
Okay.
Oh,
So-
okay.
So K2 is the one that doesn't really know how the water lines are laid out.
Yeah, and part of it might
The
be,
people we hire.
part of it might be the contractor, part of it might be the kind of emergency nature of it, so there wasn't specs and pre-planning and all the things you would have on a normal contract letting that didn't happen in advance of this. Because
Okay.
it just got added to another project.
Okay, and I'm just saying, this has really made me think about how our infrastructure is set up there to add 15, we don't even know how many more families to, is our infrastructure going to be able to handle
I
this?
understand.
A big concern for me
And
at
I
this
would
point.
say that is something that when we look at approving, it's a process that is gone through.
Okay, and it'll be discussed here, the changes to infrastructure and things, or how will that be discussed?
No, I'm saying, when this came to us before internally, administratively, those are conversations that we have. I don't know if that is making, doesn't look like it's making much sense. I'm trying to think the best way to describe it.
But we'll go to phase two. I mean, that has had preliminary drawings done to phase two.
He doesn't have a final plat on it.
And we have looked at the impacts that we have. So drainage, we need to address drainage. Drainage will
Drainage,
be
yeah,
done.
right.
It's a process.
I can ask Ryan to review, yeah, that information.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments before we move forward? Okay, number two, approval of the alignment of frontages for 1714 North Linden Street as requested by Mark McGill. Mark, okay?
Yes, Mark McGill, 1714 North Linden. My wife and I would like to add on a very small new addition on the rear of our home to accommodate a laundry room on the main floor and not have to go up and down the steps to the basement. Had a survey done on the south property line and is certified by JEO and shows the distances we're back. When we do the addition, we're not going to encroach any further toward the lot line. We're going to stay in line with the existing structure and just build on 8 feet to the back of the house. And just going forward, it will make, as my wife and I grow older, it'll make the house a lot more functional to have the laundry room upstairs where we don't have to go up and down the basement steps all the time. So, pretty simple project. I'm not trying to add on anything, any big gaudy addition that won't fit in with the neighborhood. And when we're done with it, I don't think any of you would even know what happened. I'm a construction guy and I know how to make it blend in so it looks like it should, you know, so it'll look nice, and I don't think we're moving anything any closer to the property line, so that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, so basically just to add on to that, like you said, small addition on there, survey came back, which we kind of figured is closer than the required setbacks. We went through this process before, as you know, in our zoning regulation allows you as a council to approve the alignment of frontages if it doesn't cause any issues with utilities or what have you. So we had that front line established there showing that, I don't know how far that is for sure, but obviously it's closer than what is required. And they would add that 80 square, I think it's 80 square feet is what they are proposing on the back side of that, which I've done the calculations for lot coverage and everything else like that. They're within their allowed area of that, which doesn't change anything or not, but it's just basically the alignment of that closer than that allowed setback there on that south property line, essentially is what it is.
And since it's a corner lot, they can align, you could line the frontages on this side and that side, and this is.
Right, it's corner lot, so basically that's two
So it's the
frontages.
south frontage, okay.
Yeah.
That helps.
Which,
explain
yeah,
things.
in that situation, the way our regulations are today, you'd be required a 25 foot off the south as well as 25 foot off the west. you know, and so they don't meet that, but, where it's actually a true addition, we have that verbiage in there that allows that to align.
But the addition is going back behind the house.
Going to the east.
To the east, on the south.
Yes.
Southeast corner.
Oh, by the way, down, down, right there.
Extra notch.
A little
Yeah,
bit.
and now the addition.
So it'll be going back, or towards the block four wording.
Back towards the east garage driveway and stuff.
Thank you.
The alignment makes sense to me.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Okay. Questions? Roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Raffle,
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Okay, item 3, consideration of resolution to approve amendment to the, a Wahoo Super redevelopment plan amendment to the overall redevelopment plan for the area, and 2, Wahoo Super redevelopment agreement based on the terms presented to the council sitting as a CAA, and to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement therefore, or thereafter, contingent approval of form by the city of Wahoo's legal counsel for tax increment financing. Detail there, go ahead.
Okay, so that's a mouthful, but I guess just to explain the two different items. If you remember when we approved the Wahoo Super redevelopment agreement, there was actually two pieces. There was the amendment to the overall redevelopment plan for the entire area, which is the downtown that's been declared light and substandard. So that's what the amendment to the plan is. And then there's the actual redevelopment agreement, which is specific to this project. Both of those documents have an explanation of what this project is. We did go through action back in December, maybe January, December, Joven, is that to declare it null and void. And I think we've had numerous conversations about whether or not the council is continuing to be supportive of this project. I think a couple meetings ago, I had a conversation with you about the possibility, since Mike has downsized his project for that property and now contains all of his parking on site, that we look at ways maybe the city can use some of that tax increment financing revenue to improve parking on the east side of the lot and the south side of the lot, right? Is that, okay.
Right.
So what I have put together is a summary of the proposed amendments that, before these are all put to our TIF attorney, who charges a much higher rate than Joven does. I wanted to make sure that this is representing what you're wanting, and I also I know that Mike has an interest in working to get started this fall, and so there's this trigger that if he starts the project before the redevelopment agreement is approved, then the TIF is not eligible, it's not eligible, right? The statute's very clear on that. So
It needs to be approved before.
I spoke with Joven. We had a conversation with Mike probably three and a half weeks ago. I was in the middle of budget and I did not get this drafted. So I am proposing these thoughts to you. We can talk about them. If you are in agreement with them, I would like to have you move forward with it, but I can walk through some of these. So I tried to make sure that you saw what the original document said and how we're proposing to amend it. So the description has been changed. It's now from a one L-shaped building that was 4 stories tall. It's now 2 buildings that are 3 stories tall. There's a reduction in the amount of square foot. Total square foot, there's a reduction in the amount of commercial square footage, and the changing from 58 apartments to 56. The phasing, it would be done in one phase, even though there are 2 buildings. And in our conversations with Mike, he was very clear. there was not a question about that. He provided me with the total project costs and then the uses of TIF, and so I listed these down. These were in the original redevelopment agreement, and these came straight from him that he had proposed. So he is asking for actually less TIF revenue, going from 1.9 million to just over $1 million. Construction dates, the original agreement had starting fourth quarter of 23. He wants to get started fourth quarter of 25 with similar completion dates, giving them 2 years to get that completed. An effective date for the division of taxes being January 1 of 2027. The parking. Originally, the council allowed him to have some of those parking stalls in the city right of way be counted towards his requirement. His amended plan does not require that. And he indicated in our conversations that his plan for moving forward is that if he tears out sidewalk or if he tears out street for the construction of the project, he'll replace it as it is. So we do have some standards for downtown sidewalk, a cross-section, a plan for constructing that. And so we would make him comply with that, but there's also downtown lighting, there's the improvements to the parking stalls. And so what I'm proposing is that the city be willing to look at taking on the improvement of those parking stalls. And then we in turn would recoup some of that expense through TIF revenue. So here are the TIF calculations. The base value has actually decreased. Mike filed an appeal with the county assessor to have it decreased. He has had conversations with the assessor about what the projected completed value will be on the tax rolls. And this, I think, is a very realistic number because it is significantly less than what he originally proposed, even though if you go back to the top here, his total project costs are still fairly, it's quite a bit different. Or they're very close, sorry. The tax rate has actually decreased, and so the projected annual property tax shift is pretty significant. For a total of 15 years, his total request is this roughly $1.1 million, leaving a balance of $61,000. And these are preliminary calculations. I know that $61,000 is not going to be enough for us to construct those parking stalls. I have worked with JEO and asked them to generate an opinion of cost for installing those parking stalls. But I think in our past conversations, we've agreed that those parking stalls are beneficial not only to this specific project, because there will be people that park there, but also beneficial to the entire downtown. It would fall under the same regulations that we have, no overnight parking, no abandoned vehicle, all of those things. So my proposal to Mike was that under the current existing agreement, there's one note that would be entirely held by the developer. Therefore, they would get the TIF revenue every time taxes were paid. My proposal is that we split it into 3 notes. The first would be that which he would hold, and there would be no interest on that. The second note would be the note that the city would hold for the $65,000, and that reaches that max value of TIF over the 15 years. And then I am proposing a third note so that if over the 15 years the property increases in value or the eligible expenses that he has proposed come in less than what he's talking about, he's not going to get more than what his eligible expenses are. And I want to leave the window open for the city to be able to recoup additional costs that we may have for improvements to the sidewalk, to the street, to parking, and to lighting, because those are true public benefit items. It may be that I get a cost estimate back from JEO and they say it's $40,000. If that's the case and that's all we spend, then we're only going to get what is our eligible expense. So we would, am I making sense? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are the proposed amendments. I have presented them to Mike. He he definitely wants to keep this process going, but he also didn't have a ton of time to review these, so I think, I guess my position is that yes, I want him to be on board, but I think this, and Joven can disagree, but I think this captures the conversation that we had. And if there is an amendment that would be drafted that would come back that was different than this, I would absolutely remind him that this is different than what the city council has approved at this point, and we'd have to take it back to them before we can move on. So I'm trying to do this in the interest of time, so that in the next 2 weeks, when Travis has, I don't know where you're at on approving the plans, but if they get plans approved and he wants to go ahead and start digging for footings, I don't want to stop that process because I know he's up against the window for weather, but I can tell you very confidently that if what he's proposing is different than what I have here, I would tell him that we're gonna have to wait until it all comes back to you. That. Questions?
Joe, do you see any shortfalls or concerns?
No, I think Melissa's right, which is to say if there's any material deviation, it has to come back to the council. And so if we're gonna conform with them and do it this way, based on the expediency issue, then he's gonna have to acquiesce to those terms, right? That's just plain and simple part.
Yeah, and I feel a little bit like we're in the driver's seat here. We're the one who has the ability to give him the right to use tax increment financing, and so that's where I'm.
I have a question up
Okay.
on the description of the project. The original project, 8,000 square feet of commercial space, 58 apartments, and we needed a whole lot of parking. Now it's been amended, we've lost 3,000 square feet of commercial space, which we wanted on Fifth Street. We've only dropped 2 apartments, and now magically all this parking fits.
But he's not doing it on site though.
He's on site.
But
So I'm just trying to figure out, I've never seen a drawing.
Fewer bedrooms. I
Fewer
think.
bedrooms.
Smaller apartments.
Okay,
And that's how it's based off the
but
number of
do we
bedrooms.
have any type of foot of drawing at all? Where did the commercial lots go?
Yeah, I have blue
Commercial
commercial.
base.
It's the first floor commercial bays on the
Fifth
downtown
Street.
side. It's just since he's not connecting it as an L, there's not as much space there because it would have been a longer, there would have been more frontage, so more,
A deeper.
a deeper bay, right, bigger bay.
Say that again?
Because right, it used to be it was an L,
Yes.
right? And so you, on that first story along the downtown side,
Yeah.
right?
on Fifth Street.
It would have been everything from corner to corner.
Yeah.
Now it's 2 separate buildings, so the corner to corner is narrower. So it's still everything on the downtown side,
There's
first
gonna be
floor is
still commercial, we
commercial.
lost 3,000 square feet.
Off the backside of it, right?
Yes, because it's just the structure's smaller.
Okay.
So he's not getting any grace or leniency on, we have to have first floor commercial on the downtown side, because we held firm on that, right, that absolutely had to be.
So those have somehow gotten a little narrow. or
Yeah, I think
not
the
as
building's
deep.
just smaller, yeah, is what it is, as I understand it.
But then apartments, so he's instead of 2-bedroom apartments, he's down to like 1-bedroom apartments?
Yeah, he's got
I
a
know.
lot lot of
I
singles.
think he also have threes, he
Yeah,
got
there
rid
were
of the
some-
threes.
There were threes.
I think he got rid of
Twos and
those.
threes, yeah.
I think it's 2.
But 3-bedroom apartments don't create that many more parking stalls. So I'm trying, you've got a drawing, you've got the floor plan, or you've got the,
Yes.
how does this fit? I mean, he all of a sudden doesn't need,
So as you recall, before we changed our parking regulations, this had already started.
okay,
So basically, he had already started plans of the parking. Our regulations stated 1 stall per sleeping unit.
Okay.
So basically, for a 2-bedroom apartment, he's required 2 stalls.
correct.
So if he has
So
a
he's dropped
1-bedroom
to 2
apartment, it'd be one stall. I
Okay,
think he has 70, out of these 56 units, or whatever, I was thinking 54 units, but there's like 77 or 78 beds.
And I think before, wasn't he more like 84?
84 or something like,
yeah.
yes.
And he was needing like 5 stalls or something like that
And
yeah,
from city use.
And since he dropped it 7 or 8
Bedrooms.
units out of there, but drop that out.
And also with the plans, there is some garage bays as part of the building too as
He
well.
did say
That it didn't need. I'd love to see those plans.
Well, they're like about this thick.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, you'll have to
you-
come in and
you-
look
you
at them,
have
but-
to-
You know, some of that,
I should reach out to Andrew to see if he'd send me an electronic version actually too.
I guess also the question, if this is going, if tax increment financing is going to be used, you know, his use of those apartments, I'd like it said that if he was going to use like Section 8 apartments, we have the right to approve of that.
He would have already had to apply for all of those funding mechanisms, and I'm 99% confident that these are market rate.
Then you can have a problem with any wording. I mean, if that's the route, if he can't get rented up in 2 or 3 or 4 years, I want to at least have that option to say, he's got to approve it through us.
Oh, for it to be something
As
other
a
than market
condition.
rate.
Other than market rate,
Okay.
yeah.
There has to be an express approval before that happens.
Right.
I think
I mean,
maybe
my mind is just
during
going,
during the life of the TIF, maybe.
during the life of the TIF, yes, that's all we can do, yeah. I'm just referencing some of our
concern.
past projects that once TIF credits, well, all that was used, the projects, you know, and that's beyond our control, that's 15 years down the road. But, you know, if you can't get the units rented up, we want to at least make sure it's market units.
So one thing I do want to, I want to point out while I have these expenses up here, these are proposed. And I have held on to TIF payments for, I think, from some of the projects for like 2.5 years until the documents were submitted to us justifying these expenses. So I've made that very clear to Mike also, is that we can have this development agreement, we can have these approved expenses, but you're not getting one penny of money until you provided the documentation that shows your site prep and grading was $300,000 or $214,000, and your architectural engineering fees were $212. He has to provide those invoices to us. They come to you to accept them. There's a resolution that you approve and say, yes, these are in order with what he proposed to use, and they are eligible expenses. So I don't know if that gives you any
The surety.
assurance. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the rest of it, I was just making sure that stuff fit. And if you got the plans, that will be down there.
I'll see if I can get some electronic versions for you, Steve.
Yeah, give me a recap, I don't want that much.
It would be nice, it would be, if
It'd
you
be
can get
nice to share that
electronic,
with-
that would be great to see.
I would agree.
Just like a basic floor plan site plan.
Site plan would be great.
Yeah.
With the rendering.
Yeah.
Any questions, further questions from the council? Melissa or Joe?
Well, part of me wants to sit here and think about it for another meeting, and I know you would like this to move, but frankly, we've been sitting here for 1.5 years waiting for anything to happen, and I don't feel like we need to be rushed, but that's just my thought. You know, we could sit here and look at this and see, you know, literally I looked at this at 4 o'clock this afternoon because I had a few other things going on, but, I mean, it looks like it's in order, but I don't see where we're in a big hurry to rush, but I do understand.
The only
It's-
reason why
it's
I'm
October.
honestly bringing this forward is because
Fall construction.
frankly, I was not, as-
Right,
I
understand,
I was not
understand.
as timely in proposing this to you as I should have been, simply because of all of the budget and things going on, so.
Once in a while, we've had some delays because documents were not completed or for whatever reason, but I think this will help it move along.
So this step would start the process, so then we get to review the amendments.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Is that correct?
you'll review the signed amended agreement, but you wouldn't actually review and approve the amended document before it's signed, because
So we're in the document now?
you're approving the document with these amended terms.
If there's any other
And if there's anything
amendments,
that's not, that's different
You'd have to
than
come
this,
back
then
to
we would come back to you.
But he also has to accept these two then.
Because the idea conceptually is, these terms have to go in there, our TIF attorney has to give their seal of approval for all the legalese that surrounds these terms, and then it's signed.
Could this change? If it's presented to the legal TIF attorney, could this change? Or is this pretty much?
So I did have conversations with our TIF attorney, specifically about, okay, we declared this null and void. Can we amend this agreement, or do we have to basically start completely over where we have the whole public hearing process? And their finding to me was that because the project is a downsized project, and because there is less TIF revenue that's being asked, we're okay with doing an amendment.
Okay.
Versus starting the process completely over.
Are we gonna add the verbiage in there about the
I can do that.
section?
So during the life of the redevelopment agreement, we understand this is going to be market rate housing only, right?
yes.
Mhm.
I'm still struggling that, we are voting on this, and we're just assuming that it fits, because you say it fits, and I believe you, but I'd love to see it as a site plan.
You will be having the parking plan approval process yet too as well. Because we have not officially done the parking plan approval.
So this will be a TIF, and then we get parking, and then what else? Then it
Building
goes.
permit.
Yeah,
But do we need to do it? I mean, if it's within scope, you can do it yourself, right?
right, basically I can do the permit application. Basically, the parking is just a review of surfacing really is about all that is, but you will see that before you. The count is everything is black and white for the zoning for my approval.
Okay.
Yeah, our zoning regulations say size.
Yeah.
It has to be
If it
this
fits, you
size,
can do
and
it.
it has to be this,
Yeah.
and it has to have this many ADA and this many bicycle and all the things. Our code says that, and
Yes.
he couldn't issue the permit.
Which I will tell you, the bicycle stalls were not in place. I did lack ADA stall too as well. So there is some modifications that are happening with my initial review. I sent those comments back to them. They're back at the drawing board with that. There's some downtown sidewalk issues, concerns, which you will probably see a waiver come to the table here as far as steps being within the right of way because of elevation differences. Some landscaping, he has a buffer of landscaping. So the building is zeroed out, is C1. There's a 4-foot landscape area with rock and everything in the walking area. So actually it's a reduced sidewalk area. So once again, in my review, that was part of the waiver that, I said this would have to be approved through city council process.
Yeah, along the east side of the property where we gave the conditional use permit for the main level residential, because the building is built to the lot line,
Right.
and there's windows along that. They're asking for a 4-foot landscaping buffer.
Okay.
So that if you're walking down the street, you can't peek in the window, basically, right? And then the sidewalk, and there's some other landscaping on the north side is to address the grade, is very similar to what you see at Village Point. So you have walkways and you have steps to accommodate for grade changes.
ADA ramps,
Yeah.
that type of thing.
And I know you have talked about, the city does need to then have some more involvement in the parking adjacent to that, because we're losing some downtown parking. We've got to replace that. And that's on us, that's not his project. So,
I will leave it, I'll answer questions, but let you decide from here.
More questions? I think you probably understand the timing of this a little bit and agree that we probably need some more information, but it's gonna offer a lot of our opportunities to be updated on this project. So what is the council's pleasure?
I don't have a problem with it, I guess. You know, I had a lot of questions, you answered them, so I would make or have a motion to approve a resolution for the redevelopment agreement, amendments to the redevelopment agreement, so.
And that would include both 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
The redevelopment.
Well, an amendment to both the redevelopment
Redevelopment.
plan
Yes,
as well as the
Okay.
redevelopment specific agreement.
With the caveat that we
With
have
the
to approve
additional-
the section.
Right, and then we're adding the,
Market rate
yeah,
verbiage.
right.
So there's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
And Stu, you raised a good point earlier, which is, this is just really the redevelopment agreement, the TIF. If there's concerns on the parking, it meeting building plans, waivers, that's all secondary to this, and you still have a right to weigh in on those issues, right?
Well, I don't want to sound like sour grapes, but it's been a while on the project. I really want to see the project done, and I want to see it done right. So,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You want to see it done? You want to see it
yeah,
done?
let's do it the right way.
I think
We have
it's-
a motion and a second, roll call.
Creachy,
Yes?
Sweet,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Number 4, approval of a request to occupy the public right-of-way for temporary fencing for the construction phase of Market Suites Apartments. This is to the north.
What's your definition of temporary?
During construction.
Travis, you came to the table.
So I just want to remind you, previously we did have this brought to us for the original fencing for the demolition of that. I know there were some timelines, concerns, different things with that went along with the demo of that. Since that has been somewhat completed for the building is down, looking at the photo there, obviously, you see the area that they are looking at for the construction phase of it, basically. Once again, it's kind of the same process. They're asking to occupy some of the right-of-way area and whatnot for fencing for the construction portion of this. Once again, anytime it's in the right-of-way, it's approval process, of how that works and everything. The couple things that I really wanted to show, and I don't know if you can regulate time and whatnot with that either. I'm sure you can, but you'll notice on Fifth Street there's those parking stalls there will be in that area that they're proposing right now. So who knows how long that will be gone.
What about down beach? They lose parking.
So beach, we have that right away area where K2 had their material stacked for quite a long period of time during the downtown project. So I don't see that hinders the Beach Street activity a whole lot. Once again though, the site triangles, the traffic flow, it is gonna be hindered a little bit when you narrow that street down. It's gonna make it a little harder.
It got pretty tight in there before. Now,
I'm
is
sure.
you really gonna take that out onto Fourth and Beach? That is a really dangerous
Right.
intersection already.
I mean, if you recall the process of Wahoo State Bank, it affects a lot of things. But unfortunately, when you are downtown and you're zeroing out a building, that's some of the stuff that you gotta work with,
Just in
so.
front of it, in the right way.
Is there a way to phase it or make it subject to phasing approval by the building inspector? Since we
And does
won't
he
know
have to
exact
face
dates.
it all?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where he's planning to construct all buildings. Obviously they gotta have room to maneuver for equipment, for that. They're gonna be over excavating. Like I said, once again, to go back to Wahoo State Bank, the fence was out in the parking area. They've got a job trailer on site. You've got lifts, you've got all the public walks basically gone, so, a downtown project is not very convenient, for a lot of situations, but for the safety of the workers and stuff too, like I said, they still gotta have room to operate too. Now, if they're doing the whole project in one phase, I don't know how we can, you know, if they was gonna start on one building, you could possibly say, you know, we'll have the fencing on the south side, and then as you do the other, you know, relocate, but that's gonna be pretty hard to do. I don't know how we can,
Did this layout come to you from Mike, or did it come from the contractor?
it come from the actual contractor.
I guess one question is, though, is the fence that's offset from the curb, is that like gonna be a little more permanent than what they currently have? Because as they're doing snow operations, that fence is gonna get destroyed. With snow pushing up against it, if it's movable, it's gonna be moved all over the place. Is that something that it needs to be a little bit more like core a hole, put the post in the concrete and then remove it later?
So if we saw anything during the first phase, that fence was laying down more than it was standing up, so.
Yeah, we had some wind, definitely took it down, you know.
If you look at that fence on the south side, and I looked at this today, and if that blue line truly represents where they want to put their fence, and I go by like the crosswalk tick marks, if you will, there's no way you can have 2 lanes of traffic on 4th Street, and I would question whether you could even do it on Beach where it's laid out to where it's sitting right now. And I truly have some real concerns with our seniors, especially on 4th. I'm not saying you couldn't go one way, but I think if you're gonna restrict it, at least on 4th, Beach is a little wider. But if you're gonna restrict it to this level on 4th, you would have to be a one-way, probably west to east, because of the parking, diagonal parking on the south side of 4th Street, obviously because of the way the stalls are positioned there. I don't think you're gonna accommodate 2-way traffic on 4th if this is actually where they wanna put their fence on 4th. And again, I'm looking at it, I base it on the perspective of where it looks like on the crosswalk tick marks. You're going in 2 tick marks, if you will, on 4th and 2 to the east on Beach. I just know 4th is gonna would almost assuredly have to be a one-way designation during the construction period. And I don't know what issues that pose, but I know for the senior center and those folks that are, you know, we've got a senior population that's in and out of there, that's the primary users on that street for the most part. But again, I get it, you gotta, there's something has to be done there, contractors gotta be able to operate, so. It's always the thing with construction, a little bit of pain for a lot of gain sometimes, but I just think those considerations as far as determining traffic flow and making those things one way, especially 4th, would be primary in my mind.
Well, I have been watching too at our drive-through. I mean, they've restricted me down. I can see by that they've gone through and done orange marks, and yet the fence will be 2 feet towards my building. So things get tight. And that's where I'm concerned, get that fence in, get that fence, if it could be done in some type of a phase. The first phase would be to remove probably all the surface, but then after that, I don't know.
Right, I mean, that's what they're, and they maybe are already started that, so they would be coming in doing concrete cuts of the area that they need to, removing of the parking area and all that to prep essentially for digging.
But then when that's done, you know, if they're, I'm not a construction guy, but if you're starting on foundations, there's a large part of that project that probably doesn't get impacted for quite some time. If they could be sensitive to their fencing.
I'll say the footing guys, they would probably get one of the buildings done in a week and a half, 2 weeks, because they're not gonna be super deep. Footings are probably gonna be 5-6 foot deep is all. They're not super wide, they're gonna be able to dig quite a bit, and they'll be able to put a couple 100 feet of footings in a day. From my days doing the inspection and testing of commercial buildings. And those guys are gonna wanna go as fast as they can and get one building done, and then once they get the footings in, they're jumping on the footings of the next building. So within a month, all the footings will probably be almost in.
Mhm.
And so it's not gonna be a lot of time where it's pulled back, and within 2 weeks, we're gonna be pushing it right back out, pushing it out to where they want it. So it's not gonna really save us a lot of, it'll cause more headaches, I think, trying to move fence.
Because the footings will go right up against the red line presumably in most of this.
Not out that far.
Not that far out.
It'll go up
It'll go just right there about where your finger
Here.
is.
Right there,
Okay.
yes.
Sorry to touch it.
And
Because, yeah, I guess,
also where you can see the cars parked on the, up top, the two red cars in the white, it'll be right to that line also.
it's certainly an inconvenience, but I guess the question is,
I
do we
think
want to
yeah,
require the
4th Street.
contractor to maybe think through some phasing on 4th Street and 5th Street?
Well, I think on Fifth Street to take up that parking area for a long extended amount of time, do we have to remove that parking right away? The fence could go on the curb, at the curb line or something like that, because that still gives you room to excavate and stuff for footings.
It's when they start building.
And even out on Fourth Street, the demo of the building where the red line is, that didn't affect anything for the demo. You're not coming out any further than what Wahoo Super really was previously. So, to push it out even further out to Beach and Fourth, I would think that instead of getting in the driving area, staying more at the curb line would maybe be something doable. Now, I don't know,
Well, like you said, they might need that room to work though.
I think they'll need it when they start going up with the building. For the foundation, they probably won't need to be out there as much.
right.
It'll be when they start doing the facade and building the floors up and bringing materials in from both
And I get they
sides.
don't want to pay a fence company to get it, come out and move it all the time, but I think that might be a necessary evil.
I mean, if the disruption on Beach is no different than what it was with K2, if it, maybe yes, on this, it looks like it's a little bit further, but if it ends up being roughly the same, I think everyone's used to that impact and it allowed for
Basically to the
two-lane
plan
traffic.
of the drive.
But at least with K2, you can see through
Sure.
their piles. This is
But-
a fence.
Yeah, but
This
Fourth
is
is
gonna be what, a 6-foot tall fence? Like what's
I
that?
would guess, yeah.
It'll probably still be.
to me,
To your-
Fourth and
To your
Fifth
point
are
about
the
the
two.
fence, Pat, it won't be any better. I mean, I specialize in commercial construction, material supplies. It'll be the same type of fence because those framers are gonna wanna be able to take two sections down,
Yeah.
bring a forklift in and bring lumber up to the deck and I've actually been talking about the lumber on this project and so they plan on it going. I mean, they plan on it, it's gonna go. It's not gonna be one building and, one building may go up, but the next one's going right away, and that fence will be very movable because they're gonna wanna have access.
And then they're gonna be spending a lot of time in the winter resetting it after a snow event.
Yeah.
Unless it's not a heavy snow year, I mean,
Well,
like
even,
last year was.
I'll tell you, even a 2-inch snow pushes a lot of things out of the way. I've had 10 years of plowing snow, so light snow
So it,
moves a
The
lot.
fence is needed, I think. I would agree that maybe you gotta consider on Fourth Street making that a one-way here, especially if it sits out so far. Because of the patronage, like as
I
Kevin
think there
said.
should also be temporary stop signs in that intersection.
Yeah,
If you're gonna be
just 'cause-
taking that far out,
I was gonna say,
4-way stop. Also to help with,
On the 4th and Beach here.
Fourth and Beach should be a 4-way stop, temporary 4-way stops on signs. Which you just put it in a barrel with the pole and stand.
I don't know if that's,
A lot of
is that,
parking stalls that go away.
is that decided when we approve a fence as far as the four-way and the one-way, or is that something that comes up later?
Yeah, big question.
we can put a resolution on the agenda for the next council meeting to authorize the placement of temporary stop signs. Or
Yeah, Fourth and
changing
Beach, it's
the,
already, should have stop signs probably already. And it's gonna be
we've
worse.
tried stop signs there.
Yeah, they just
And
don't
it's
throw them.
actually been worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if it's 4-way stop, it might improve it.
We know the concrete has to be moved in there, is there a way to, have it flexible enough at the discretion between the contractor and Travis as to where the new placement would be? I don't know, it's,
I'm confident in Joe, Travis, and I, and in our ability to negotiate with a contractor.
yeah. Do
And
any
have
spend- yeah.
nothing, absolutely nothing greater than this, but push it to be less than this.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I think Fourth and
Yeah.
Fifth to me are the two
Yeah.
most urgent,
Right.
recognizing that Beach.
So you're thinking approve it subject to the staff having discretion
Yeah,
on
Well,
phasing and adjustments?
I'm also concerned about that parking.
So it's not, you're approved completely as shown for
That,
X months.
business is right there in the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of parking
It
stalls to be done.
shouldn't take an act of the council or an act of God to keep having to go back and move the
Yeah, I
fence a little
think
bit.
we need to vest control in the staff to be able to say,
Yeah.
I know they gave you an approval, but they gave it subject to what we say in terms of restrictions on this and where that boundary line might have to temporarily start, stop, and the like. I think Stu raised a good point also, which is there probably needs to be an end date to it, right? Because it
Yeah,
is
tell
an
me when this ends.
inconvenience. And so
This isn't in perpetuity.
Somewhere in
It'll
2027.
be in place
Yeah.
while they're constructing.
It's not in 2035, it's not gonna be
Well,
out there till then.
it should be 2027 when the project is supposed to be complete,
Then December 26th it is.
well, you'll have a 1-year building permit,
Yeah, 1 year.
technically, but it'll probably take a month or two to get approved, so end of next year. In terms of, to get
December
the building permit approved, 1 year.
December 26th.
construction.
December 26th, yeah.
If I could just say one other thing about the fence that maybe hasn't been considered is, where are all the semis that are gonna be bringing all the material unloading? Because we know they're not gonna be pulling into that lot, that's just not gonna happen. They're not gonna be able to make that turn, off of Fifth onto Beach with that fence going all the way out to that corner. So then where does that leave them? They can't continue down Fifth to get out. That would send them,
I think semis can continue down Fifth
they can
to get out, and then they can go north on Pine, right?
Is that-
okay, yeah, through, I guess through
That's where
residential, yeah.
Yeah.
that back out to. I guess I was just more thinking of the impact of a semi sitting in the middle of the street and it trying to get unloaded, and then all the cars parked there, the businesses, you know, it just, I mean, I get it, it's downtown, it's a mess, it sucks, but, as much as it sucks to close the whole street, it almost seems like the whole street should be shut down, so that would be their unload zoning, you know, area. They could pull in, get their equipment and stuff off. We don't have any issue of liability with the street being half open or half closed. It just is what it is, and then the trucks can get back out of town without going through residential or disturbing,
You're talking about Beach or Fifth?
either. Well, not Fifth, obviously.
Right.
I guess, you know, I'm not all knowledgeable here, but I would almost see Fourth as the more likely option, but I just started looking at this
Sure,
2 seconds ago,
right.
but
You probably can't close down Beach if Fourth's a one-way, right?
No,
Because how are you gonna get, if you live down here, how do you get out without going all the way around?
yeah, like I said, I don't have the magical answer for it. It's just one more thing to throw in the
Beach
mix.
would be different probably, right?
Well, but we have,
Yeah.
we have by Sam Crawford, then we have Elm Street closed, and then if
Yeah.
we have Beach closed, then Linden would be the next.
You got a one-way in front of Kevin's building.
Yeah, right.
Well, that fence includes all
We
the
closed
parking
down
on
the Church
Fifth.
Street.
That holds a semi
Sam
right
Crawford's
there.
lot.
You got the sidewalk on
Yeah.
Fifth, that's a semi right there. Until even when the footings go in, you can get a semi in and out. They did the semis in and out from 4th Street on site.
What if they,
For most of it.
what if they used, between the buildings on Linden, off of Linden for the on-site construction, loaded and unloading?
Oh, that's my drive-through.
It's his drive-through.
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic in there, so there, and that is my concern.
Yeah.
Who's fixing that parking lot?
Yeah, they're trying to function around this.
If I were supplying that job, I would want my semis to come in on Beach and go east on Fifth and come down and basically, or come in on Chestnut, I'm sorry. Come in on Chestnut, turn down Fifth, and then stop it right there by Beach and have the lift come out of the site and pick stuff up and take it into the job site. And then the semi would just go straight east down to Crawford and head north and head on out of town. That's where what I would try to convince them to let my trucks do.
Yeah, but you're gonna interrupt businesses on the north side.
There are trucks that unload on the hardware store for signs.
Beach all the time.
They will sit on beach and they, you know,
And then I'm trying to go down beach now, I gotta go into head-on traffic and hope that nobody's turning that corner with that semi sitting there.
It's hard to get to Civic Center from any of those streets right now.
And depending on timing, I mean, I did the hotel at 9th and L in Lincoln, and we had very specific windows when our trucks could come, period.
That's a good point.
And, I mean, we had trucks sitting out of the rest area waiting for the call to come in. We're ready for you in 10 minutes, you know, I mean, so I mean,
Yeah,
that's.
in Lincoln or Omaha, there's no semi-delivery of building materials or oversized or during certain
Right, exactly. I mean, it has to be after 9
7 to
and.
9
that
or
makes sense.
in 3 to 5.
Don't do it at 3:30, nothing during like
Eight to
1.
nine.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's something that can be done too, is that you could give the contractor limits on when it could happen.
Yeah, I think the reality here, to our earlier point, is I think you're gonna, within your approval, have to give some vested authority to staff to oversee phasing, restrictions and the like on this, and then put a big red bullseye in Travis's back. It's his job to do it.
It's just permanent.
You a t-shirt.
You say Travis
it
has
is
more
makes sense.
authority than the other two.
Well, whoever. Melissa's always blamed for everything, so.
Yeah. No, I agree, there's, as you've discussed, and I've been part of it, but, there's so many ifs and ands and what here and what there, I just think we have to approve, remove a portable fence and move on at the discretion of the staff. And if we see we got problems that way, we'll have to reconvene, but I don't see that in the between now and next couple of meetings.
And then subject to a December 31st, 2026 expiration. They'll have to come back and get an extension if they need it.
I
So-
can make a motion to that effect.
I would agree.
But I think the next council, we should maybe have that discussion more about stop signs at that intersection of Fourth and Beach. Or four-way stops
Yeah.
for safety
Yeah.
during construction.
Say traffic all around the construction site.
And then also the temporary one-way on Fourth Street, I think would be something we talked
You
about.
gotta address that in the motion.
Yeah,
I
can you
think,
read that back to me?
Okay. Please tell me if I didn't quite grab the essence
I'll
of
let
what
you
was. Motion to approve the request to occupy the right of way for temporary fence not to exceed what is being proposed, with final approval to be granted to city staff, subject to a December 31st, 2026 expiration date. Yes? Okay.
Okay,
Did you get a second?
And I second.
Okay.
I got a second.
got a motion and a second.
Mhm.
Hope there's no more discussion.
Not today.
Roll call.
Preachy?
Yes.
Ideas?
Yes.
Sweet?
Yes.
Nagel?
Yes.
Rappel?
Yes.
I only have to make a comment, I mean, we did original approvals 3 years ago on this project. I mean, this is nice to see this finally. Now we're almost in the construction phase, it's nice to see it get here.
See the new concrete going in.
Yeah.
Just keep our fingers
Been a while.
crossed that it moves a little better.
I want that date for the temporary fencing.
Okay, we'll move on. Number 5, agreement between the city of Wahoo and JE Consulting Group, Inc. to complete final design and construction documents for Highland Park located north of the Wahoo Water Tower.
So what's before you for your consideration, review, and approval is, as Jerry mentioned, scope of services for final design. If you remember, we've already done some conceptual preliminary design of the 2 parcels, two lots, which equate to about 3/4 of an acre, very much right adjacent to on the north side of the water tower. Said property to be deeded to the city at a certain.
Has been deeded.
Has been, yep, and then, the improvements to be completed by the city. We aren't there yet as far as the triggering mechanism that says we need to begin the construction of the park, but we want to be in a position to have plan sets and construction documents so that as we get closer and as things continue to fill up there, we will be in a position to begin the process of constructing that park. So this will give us the full plan sets designed for the facility. If you remember, the conceptuals consisted of, and again, this is a pocket park. If you look, remember the conceptual is more of a neighborhood park, not large at 3/4 of an acre. So it would include amenities such as a playground, some sports courts with to be determined quantities of those, a picnic shelter of some sort, and then some passive use space, which means green grass. So that's what it would consist of. And so this is getting into the weeds with the actual design of that park. The good news is the price tag for this scope came in less than what we were originally anticipating based upon the initial number. And so this would be a process that would take us through the winter months to be completed after the first of the year, as we go through the next couple months of design work with JEO.
What's our anticipated investment into the park?
The original, this one will give us a new opinion of cost based upon the specific design, but the original, based on the conceptual that we did, was about $750,000.
So it makes sense to get this done the right way. Yeah.
And, you know, obviously keep in mind the parking's there. The city has paid for that as part of the original infrastructure. The road that was put through there, that was something that's been constructed and is in place already. So the road, the parking spaces, off-street parking is in place already for this. So. Questions?
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Okay. Got a motion to approve, and a second, for the agreement with the city of Wahoo and JEO, roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Ideas.
Number 6, resolution to adopt the 2025 hazard mitigation plan as prepared by Lower Platte North NRD and approved by FEMA for the city of Wahoo.
So my memo explains, we have participated in the update to the hazard mitigation plan for the Lower Platte North NRD. And if you looked at the 1,000-page document, you will see that there are a lot of entities that participated. So this is gone, it's been proposed, there's some projects identified, which some of them have been identified in multiple updates, but this has gone to FEMA and has been approved, so the final piece of this process is for each entity to approve this plan. So that, if you have any questions, I'll try and answer them. If not, I would ask for you to approve the resolution. The whole purpose of the hazard mitigation plan is to provide access to federal dollars for mitigation of buildings that might sit in the floodplain or building a storm shelter when a new structure is built or addition to the school. There's funding opportunities that are available that are identified by the looking at the hazards that we are at risk from.
Motion to approve?
I'll second that.
Questions? Roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Sweet,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Number 7, memorandum of understanding between Saunders County and the City of Wahoo Police Department regarding radio communication equipment as provided through a grant number, and it's a very strong statement to try and read all that.
Yeah. So if you recall earlier this year, I think it was maybe August, we approved this exact same MOU. It was between Saunders County and the Fire and EMS Department. This is, the police department is getting those same radios, and it's a requirement of this program. I know Jovan reviewed the language on the fire department. This one is not any different, and so somehow this got lost in the shuffle. Otherwise we would have brought them to you at the same time. So.
I'll make a motion, we approve the memorandum for understanding.
Second.
Questions from the council? Roll call.
Rappel.
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Creachy.
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Number 8, discussion regarding moving the December 23, 2025 meeting to December 22nd, 2025.
Is that
So-
Monday?
So, right,
Tuesday,
city staff holidays are the 24th and the 25th. So the idea was on the 23rd, there may be some people that are taking off, leaving to go out of town or whatever the
And
situation
to cut
is.
checks.
What?
And to get checks cut.
Oh, and to get checks sent out, so
Yeah.
that would give us one day to get
Is
those
that
checks
gonna be in
printed
town
and
on
sent
the
out.
23rd?
Well, we can probably get some.
Yeah, I know, but
It's up to you though, it's,
Yeah, 23 works great.
Yeah.
Who's second? Thank you.
22nd.
questions, roll call.
Creachy.
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes.
Nagel.
Yes.
Rappel.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yes.
I guess one question, is the same thing happened in November?
The one on the.
I wasn't here at the last meeting, is that brought up at the last meeting? Because the last meeting's gonna be the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
But we'll still have the Wednesday.
I just didn't know if people would be leaving town also, or a holiday weekend, the same as the 24th is the holiday for,
yeah, that,
Thursday's a holiday also, so I didn't know if
What?
city staff
Me
would be.
people won't.
Well,
yeah,
I'm just saying, I'm just asking because it's the same setup as,
Yeah.
except for in December, staff actually has the day after the council meeting off, and in November, we don't have that
We
day
have
off,
both
it's a
days.
holiday, so I understand what you're saying though, yeah.
We have moved the first meeting in November as well.
Yes, the first meeting in November is on the 13th instead of the
Because it fell on Veterans Day.
great, I guess I can take my kid out for his birthday next week. And I'll just sit at home all day. And it's a holiday for me.
Just a reminder, we do, at the very end of the city council agendas, the dates for the next 3 meetings are listed there, so try to make sure those are updated, even though they're small, Stuart.
I think there are 6.
Can we make them bold? Red italics?
Is there a motion?
We already did, I
We
just
did,
had a
yeah.
question about
Oh, okay.
ones in November.
Roll call on changing
We
date.
did.
We already
We
did
did
it.
that, yeah.
Oh, already did it, wow. Sleeping order. Number 9, action to authorize the de-obligation of the reuse funds from the 2019 housing rehab loan program for $20,494 to transfer the funds to the general fund and commit these funds to be used as a portion of the local match for the 2025 housing trust agreement program through Send AHA from Wahoo.
So, there's a lot in this also. So, in 2019, we had the housing rehab loan program, and when those monies, which is a max of $24,999 that were made to qualified applicants, qualified homeowners, there was a stipulation in every one of those agreements that they remain in their home for a period of time, or if they sold it, then they had a prorated portion of that that was due back to the city. So this money that we have sitting in this fund is from, I think it's 2, maybe 3 projects where that has happened. The house has been sold per the agreement that was filed against the property, they repaid that. We applied for the Housing Grant Trust Fund Program with SENAC, which is Southeast Nebraska Affordable Housing Council, which is a part of SEND, and we have received notification that we did receive a $560,000 grant to use to create workforce housing, which there is a specific threshold. I don't know what that is, but in terms of what the price of the housing can be. But in order to receive those funds, we have to have a $75,000 match. In my conversations with Send, we talked about this $20,500 that we have sitting here, which we could use as a reuse of the same original program. Find a qualified applicant, loan it, and but straight up DED has said, as if you have less than $35,000 in those reuse funds, we'd prefer if you try and de-obligate them because with the reuse, there's continued reporting. So without the reuse, then after the 10 years, I think it is, or then the CDBG, the 2019 housing rehab loan is closed, the record is done. There's no reuse of that. So we have the approval from DED, it's within the limits of $35,000, it's less than that. So if you're willing to do that, I think that makes sense. It's still going to housing, it serves as a match, and now we're left to only find $55,000 if you're so inclined.
So it gets us about a third of the way there.
Yeah,
Yes.
makes sense.
I do like that it makes.
What's that?
I said I do like the fact that it makes the little less, little lower amount to have to find for the additional funding on that.
Yes.
I would make a motion to authorize the de-obligation of the reuse funds.
Second, go ahead. You seconded.
Motion and a second.
It's your choose.
You don't want to be on the record, huh?
That action item, roll call.
Ideas?
Yes?
Sweet?
Yes.
Creachy?
Yes.
Nickel?
Yes.
Rapp?
Yes.
Number 10, a resolution to authorize placement of no parking signs on the north side of 16th Street between Sycamore Street and Locust Street.
So,
In front of the church.
Yeah.
yes, it's on the south side of the,
South side? Yeah. North side of the street. North side of the street.
North side street.
South side of the street.
I don't remember where this
Is that a
request
problem?
was.
Yeah, what's driving this?
Yeah, Carol's
Dan,
Dan.
Albert.
yes. Dan had, asked me if there was any way that we could review this for potential no parking along there, because there is several times, I am on that 16th Street quite a bit as well, and there is times you have people park on the north side as well as the south side, and that is a narrow street, and it gets awful tight. So,
During the day, I mean, the parking there to go to the apartments?
yeah, so yeah, you'll have a lot of people that'll park there visiting their apartments or whatnot, so that street gets awful tight, so.
Does that parking lot fill up much on, like during church times, and Sundays and stuff like that? Is that an overflow parking or not people use?
I don't think so. I mean, there used to be a lot more vehicles there during the week that the apartment used and parked there, but I don't see that happening there as much now. You know, that's the thing too, they do have that parking lot there that they could pull into, go and visit whoever they want to at the apartments and not be parked on the street as well to help out with that. Because
And it is pretty uncanny how if there are two vehicles. I mean,
they always
like
park
they're
side by side.
They always park side by side, so it's
They
very
never
narrow
stagger. I
to
don't
get
know why
through.
that is, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have community experience here. The
Yeah.
south, the west.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, my.
Ryan.
It is surprising how many times that street is really.
So yeah, I think it would make sense to have the no parking on the north side of 16th Street. That way they can still park in front of the apartments, make sure the kids aren't running back and forth and that type of thing.
So the north side of 16th, that would be parallel parking right now, or that's not?
Yeah, it should be on-street parking. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to, my brain is still going back to Wahoo Super, saying, okay, we've got apartment complexes, they're having
We need
visitors
parking.
during the day, we're
We
already
need
short
parking.
parking, and now we've got parking overflowing everywhere, but that's a different topic.
Yeah, so when are these signs looking to be installed?
I don't know, as soon as we tell Joe when he has it stocked.
I just know that they have a trunk or treat over there on 26, and that's gonna really congest up a lot of parking in that area. A lot of people park there real quick to go to their trunk or treat, and then they leave. And if there's no parking, they're gonna be parking in front of other people's houses further down and congesting more areas over there. I'm
No,
just,
it's the 14th, maybe we can say
November 1st.
Yeah, November 1st.
Do we have?
I was just, well,
Do we have a criteria for
That place is
asking
busy
for no
for-
parking? What if I want no parking in front of my house?
Too bad.
Do you want to sign up for your?
No, I'm just saying, what stops, what, is there an actual, meet these requirements? Otherwise, we're gonna have everybody in town wanting no parking in front of their house.
There's not a policy per se, it's
Yeah.
on a your determination basis.
Right.
And then a
Based
future,
on the
yeah, future council if they wanna change that.
Right.
That's what Carl.
I think if you look at
One
it-
street and
But I think if you look at this location,
they wouldn't have to worry about it.
it is narrower. There is a lot of school traffic that goes through there. There are children that walk to school because I've gotten phone calls about interactions between pedestrians and high school traffic. I've gotten complaints about that.
As long as we can document this stuff, I mean, that's where I'm going with it, is say, we hit A, B, C, and D, and that's what
Mhm.
we wanted to have happen.
Yeah, I'm with you, Stu. I mean, inconvenience is not enough, right? We have to be concerned that there's
Right.
safety issues,
Yes,
some practical
some type of a narrow
thing we're
street.
trying to address. Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking. Historically, I mean, you look at the request of that, it's been emergency response. You know, when you have two vehicles there, you can't fit an ambulance through there.
Yes.
Or, you know, along Locust by the high school, became no parking on one side because of the safety of people crossing, you know, and vehicles traveling fast and going out through there. So, I mean, it's still gonna have to be a case by case. I mean, the individual coming and saying, well, I don't want someone to park there because I can't back my camper into my driveway or
Exactly.
something like that, you know, wouldn't be justifiable.
Okay.
So just as a refresher to me, what was the driver here for that section? What was the driver for this request?
So, Mr. Alberts, he does a lot of maintenance and stuff. That's their church. I think he does maintenance and that type of stuff there too. And so I imagine he's going in and out there with trailers or what have you too.
And he has difficulty with his trailer clearing.
Yeah, and I don't even know so much. There's been times like even just my pickup driving through there, like Ryan had said, it never fails. They're side by side. And you know, if they don't pull clear up against the curb or, you know, whatever, mirror sticking out, you know, you could easily clip a mirror. And I've seen it before too, like I said, with little kids. You know, I got teenage drivers too. I'm concerned with little kids darting out because they're not paying as much attention as maybe someone, and it happens to everybody, you know, you don't always pay attention as much as you should. So kids darting out when you're talking very tight spaces, it is nerve-wracking and worrisome.
And I would think the fact that it is the accessory street to Locust, which is directly to the school, high traffic, would be one of the things that would make this unique. Just like you've done on Hackberry, was a lot of those accessory streets is where you've done this as well.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Creachy,
Yes.
Rappel,
Yes.
Nagel,
Yes.
Ideas,
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Okay, do have a couple comments from the Department of Transportation. At their meeting this week, the plan for the 2026-2029, which was released yesterday, funding for US 77 Wahoo to Fremont South Expressway has been delayed until fiscal year 2028. They decided to fund two Heartland Express projects with much less traffic on them fiscal year 2027. One thing about the delay through this, the funding for the whole project will be done in 2028 instead of splitting it into 2 years. You can submit comments on the plan to the Department of Transportation website through next Monday. The other comment I would make, it doesn't affect the city directly, but last night at the NRD board meeting, there was a motion passed by the, I think there was 15 members present or on Zoom to continue just authorizing staff and legal to meet with the developer for the amphitheater to locate the amphitheater on the east side of Lake Wahoo and start working on the documents in order to complete the process. So that will go to an internal committee with the donor, and then it will be a meeting with the expanded public or citizen input.
Make way more sense to be unusual.
Yeah, so on the east side, it's totally within the the city of Wahoo's jurisdiction because of the 1 mile from the airport. It'll all be on city utilities. There will be no septic tank. It'll be straight power lift into the dump station out there. So that'll be better.
Is the donor on board? Donor's happy?
Pardon?
Is the donor happy with that decision?
He's happy. I called him today and he said, let's get a meeting together. So,
He's happy that it's just still on one of his properties over probably. He probably wasn't too particular where on the property as long as it's on the one of the
Well,
property.
I mean,
the
cheaper
first-
from a utility standpoint, you said,
yeah,
on the east
yeah.
side, so
It
that.
was originally proposed on the west side and rightfully so. It's closer to property owners. We do have one property owner that's closer to him now, and he was at the meeting last night. But the traffic coming off of Chestnut Street, going north would be gravel, going south, we'd have to have a patrolman out of 4 lane. Going east, on the east side is 109 paved all the way with the traffic slowing device on the 4 lane. So, a lot of things that make it better.
Yeah, I agree.
It's all I have.
Back to your first item, do you know what the 2 proposed Heartland Express products are that are
No,
being
I don't.
funded? Okay,
No,
Yeah,
this is just a memo that I got.
gotcha.
I was gonna say, I don't know how they can decide to delay this, the traffic is getting.
That's why I want to know what those projects
I know,
are.
well, I know they still haven't come up with a solution from Highway 64 to the Platte River.
One thing about it
Because of the cemetery and the lot of houses, and they're looking at potential rerouting it completely up there.
Yeah, one thing about it, it's in 28, lumber coming in, so if it's coming in from Omaha, they won't have an issue with going around on detours, because that project, hopefully, is done before 28, so.
It looks like, if I'm looking at the right article, they're both out west. It's like out by Alliance and Shattering, and then over by Scotts Bluff.
The Heartland Expressway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
It's like Rapid City, Scotts Bluff, Torrington, Wyoming, and then down to like Denver.
Fremont to Norfolk, we got the money last time. Now, we just can't.
Looks like it's to connect South Dakota, Wyoming, Colorado to Nebraska, is what, at least this map
It
shows.
just gets you down to the
Yeah,
interstate.
for both
is that correct?
Yeah.
From I-90, I-90
Any
now.
comments from the
Well,
council?
but there's a lot of traffic for Rapid
No, no, declare the meeting adjourned.
Traffic going development out in western New
Thanks for the public, Sam.
Can't imagine we have less traffic.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
I'm sure we will.